We live on an amazing planet.
Filled with amazing creatures from sea to sky.
But some of us have forgotten this. We only know these creatures from pictures or behind glass displays.
But for us, that's not enough. Join me, Sam,
and me, Taylor, as we take you with us as we go
chasing nature.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are back on the hunt on the Leith. We've proceeded further up this wonderful river, this paradise of nighttime. There are many creatures here. We will show you tonight incredible animals. As you can see, the weather's not the best here tonight, so we're just gonna have to make do. Might get a few, splashes on the lens and whatnot, but at the end of the day, go, mate. You got something, guys?
So just minutes into our venture and we're straight into it. Got two freshwater crayfish here from Calder. But now I look around, they seem to be reasonably abundant, to be honest. We gotta be careful here, because I'll just show you the kind of damage that these guys can do. Oh dear, Jesus. Now as you can see, he's oh no. Oh, this is a bad idea. As you can see, he's now double clamped onto my finger. To describe this as excruciating would be to say the least. I'm now going to try and gently coax him to go back into the pond. No, it seems even underwater, his relentless struggle to pin me down continues. Who knows when he'll give up. Mate, you just keep going.
So what we've got here is an opelion. These guys are from the arachnid group and are related to spiders. You can see he's got these enormous long legs and they're very skinny. Now that's a very important feature. When you're living out in the dark, when you're coming out at night time, you want to distance your vital organs and your main body as far away from a potential predator as possible. So with these very long legs, if a potential predator comes along, he can basically break his leg very easily, get away and lift it out of the tail. And you can actually see on this guy, who's probably quite a good sized mature one, he's got a few that are missing, the ends of his legs. But you can see these full legs here, very long. One of the cool things about these guys is they have these enormous, what are called chelicerae. They're basically big appendages that look like cranes that they can use to tear apart their food. And in these types of harvestmen, they're very oversized. These guys tend to prey on things like even cave weta, glowworms. As you can see here, we've got another cool dude who's on me at the moment, which is probably a stonefly. Now this guy here, I think he's a cyclotennis spider. That's the genus he's from. And these are very quick spiders, and they'll just sit there very still. I've seen them a bunch of times before. They'll just sit there at night, waiting for food to come by them. Bang! Straight away. Lightning speed. And so he's just sitting there. He's got this excellent camouflage on his body, which means that he can go virtually unnoticed by other potential predators.
Right here we've got the beautiful cave weta, the tokoriro. We can tell he's a tokoriro. That's his te reo name. So there's two legs to toko, and riro is to jump. So these guys are awesome little invertebrates. They've got these really long legs, long appendages for moving around in the dark, just like Sam said about the harvestmen. So cave weta, and just like all weta, are actually herbivores. So they don't eat meat, they don't chase anything down and hunt it. They actually just eat plants. So whenever you see these guys, you don't have to worry. You can just pick them up and play with them because they're not going to eat you.
So these guys belong to the family Rhaphidophoridae. So they're distantly related to crickets and grasshoppers and that kind of thing. But here in New Zealand, cave weta are very special, quite unique. Now this one's here is a female, and I can tell because it's actually got this big spike on the back of its abdomen, and that's called an ovipositor. And basically, she'll lay her eggs through that.
Giant weta, and actually some of the larger bush weta, are surprisingly actually seed dispersers, just like birds. So they actually eat fruit and move seeds around. The success of this dispersal is still up for debate though. So even though we're not in a cave, we're going to release this cave weeder back onto the side of the wall here and let it be on its way, eh? I found another little coulter, another little freshwater crayfish, and I'm going to be a bit more careful with this one after my experience with the last one. So these little guys are New Zealand freshwater crayfish. We have more than one species of freshwater crayfish in New Zealand. These guys can get up to roughly that big, so it's just a juvenile. We're finding lots in this area, and that's really good because crayfish need really, really clean water. So freshwater crayfish are becoming somewhat of a rarity in New Zealand, really, which is a shame because back in the day, you can hear stories of them being really abundant in streams. They need clean water, and they also need a lack of trout. Trout are a major predator of these little guys, and so that's probably why we're finding them upstream here, away from those big fish. People often say to me, Taylor, if I'm not familiar with these animals, how can I easily tell the difference between this coulter here, this freshwater coulter, and the saltwater crayfish? So I often find the easiest way is just come down. See, that's very fresh, so in my opinion that's a freshwater crayfish, and that's the easiest way to tell.
As Taylor was saying, these guys are very important, and in headwater streams, crayfish have been documented living up to even as much as 30 years old. I mean, he's just not letting go. He's just not letting go at all. This is a very dangerous situation here. If I don't get him off my hand quick, you could experience excruciating, devastating pain and possibly not be sent to hospital ever.
Yeah, I think we'll just cut it there and sort the situation out now. People always ask me, as a botanist, what is my favourite nocturnal plant? To that I say, it's a dumb question. In other news though, this plant here, a fantastic fern. This is a Splenium bulbiferum, or the hen and chicken fern. One thing interesting about this fern is it's highly palatable. Well, the young shoots are highly palatable. The other interesting thing about this fern is why it gets its name. So if we actually look at one of the fronds here, we can see a smaller baby fern growing off the other fern. And so this fern can reproduce how ferns normally do, using spores, or it can reproduce asexually using these tiny little buds that it grows that can just drop off and grow a new fern. Now, the glowworms are most amazing, not just because they glow. I mean, that's incredible. They're producing a bioluminescent compound that can glow in the dark. But the reason behind this glow is particularly interesting. They're actually glowing to attract prey. So these invertebrate larvae are not just beautiful, they're dangerously beautiful. So they're attracting things to fly into their webs. They make a web almost like a spider, but of hollow silk which they live in and crawl through. When something gets trapped in this web, they find it and they devour it. Now these glowworms, just like the Dobson flies we've seen before, actually spend most of their life as this little larvae before developing into a fly that only lives for about a day, lays several hundred eggs, and then just dies. So most of these animals spend their entire life living either on a wet bank or in the river as we saw, and only spend a few days as their adult forms.
Now the Māori word for glowworm is pura toke, which means night-giving word, and reasonably so. It has a beautiful presence at night time. The reason its English name is the glowworm is because it glows.
But what about the worm part? The glowworm is so beautiful, and sometimes we have to remember it was beauty that killed the beast. Yeah, I think it actually made us... I just can't get the shot, we haven't got the right gear, we haven't got a good macro on. Getting pretty bloody soaked, pretty bloody over this. Can't find a shot.
Do you reckon we could maybe try for another 5 minutes or something? Just
I don't know about it, mate. I think we might have to call it today and pack up and move on. It's
pretty tedious.
It's a bit disappointing, but sometimes you just have to roll the punches, eh? So we'll just grab that gear and head off, eh?